advanced report can be managed with the data in a tabular format, and also when you wanted to integrate the data, your advanced report works more appropriately. But when you have a requirements, to actually view data and have in a process of analytic format, so there are multiple reports of such types where you can create them and attach to the dashboards. The primary report that comes when you think of data visualization and analytics is matrix report. So after advanced reports in Workday reporting, we mostly will be using advanced report. 80% of Workday reporting will be managed with advanced reporting, and all other rest of the type of reports, be it matrix, trended and matrix are both same, but source is a little different, but the way data populates, configuration and all is same. Trended report and matrix reports are same, but trended will be actually looking for trended data. Ratio of the data it will be looking. Only source would be different for matrix and trended, but data population, configuration and all, everything is same for both reports. And the other report, transposed report, search report, we have multiple reports accordingly. For those business requirements, when you wanted to view the data based on the search criteria that you wanted to give, you'll go with search report. And when you wanted to interchange data between columns to rows and rows to columns, we'll be using as transposed report. And inbox report for financial accounting, generally we'll be using inbox report, which generates output in a two-dimensional matrix format. All these are kind of reports where you'll get a very rare requirements to get on this kind of reports. So most of the business requirements will be on advanced report and matrix report. After matrix, you'll also have a little bit of composite report. But other than these three, after these three, there will be a kind of search report kind of requirement. Other than these four, the transposed report, inbox report, you'll never get a chance. In case if you get a chance, I think those are simple configurations. As how you create advanced report, you'll be creating a transposed report, but the output of the transposed report will be different. In advanced report, you will be configuring employee details, employee ID, employee name, and all whatever you configure as a field. When you run a report, you'll be seeing columns and rows in a proper format. But your transposed report will populate data in opposite way. Whatever your advanced report is giving, your transposed report will reverse that. Rows will be populated as columns, and columns will be populated as rows, and gives you the data. That's the only difference between transport, which you can replicate the same steps that you will be doing for advanced report. Now,
so Amit, I have one question.
Yep.
I got pulled off in an important conversation yesterday. So just wanted to check, have you touched upon the matrix report, how to create them yesterday, or are we going to do it today?
We are going to do it today. Matrix reports.
Great.
It's all matrix report concept, drilling down, adding drill down fields, options and all we are going to cover today.
Okay.
Is that your question or anything related?
Yeah, it's the same question.
Okay, fine then. Yep. So now coming to matrix functionality, matrix report functionality. Matrix report type provides basically the foundation of custom analytics, and it actually gives a kind of interactive reporting in Workday. And basically it enables you, or it allows you for performing any kind of grouping, any kind of aggregations, and interactive drilling down across your different dimension that you create in when you're creating a matrix report. You actually consider groupings, which groups the data. For example, if you wanted to return data based on country, in this country how many employees are there, or in this cost center how many employees are there, such kind of things, based on country. If you wanted to get any kind of aggregated count of data, and which actually the output of report will be a kind of interactive, where you can drill down into the report and view each employee information. All this kind of options you'll be getting in a matrix report. And the main features that you have in matrix report is you have an option of aggregating, summarizing the numeric data, and modifying rows and columns at runtime, for a different view. Okay, let's say if when you see an advanced report, after you run a report, you'll not have an option to get to the output and drill down into the fields and change the view of the output. That option you will not have in advanced report. And only report that we have in Workday that allows you to actually get into output, view, drill down into the fields of the output and change, filter those drill down fields and all. Only your matrix report will allow you to actually drill down into the output file after you run a report. Okay, no other report other than matrix report will give you an option in the output to manage the drill downs and all. So this is one of the the feature and the functionality that we have in Workday, and that is the reason why most of the matrix reports will be created. Okay, and it gives you an option to drill down and summarizes the data fields that you'll be selecting, and as I said, right, in the output we should be able to take an action if anything needs to be corrected. This is one of the best features that we have with the matrix report, and basically there are three attributes. Let me open a notepad and I'll also create a report. But before that, basically while you are creating a matrix reports, grouping is one of the primary thing that you need to consider. On what basis you want to group the data, and summarizing your data count, your data average and all will be getting summarized by summarizing attribute. And next, drilling. So drilling into each field to know further information. When you run a report as an output, you have an option to drill down and identify employee details or any other details based on the source that you've chosen. These are the three steps that you're going to perform, or you're going to know before you create a matrix report. Okay. So now grouping is nothing but group of instances of a primary business object by defining the row and column groupings. Okay. So if you're configuring any kind of grouping here, it actually groups the data by the column that you're giving here. Let's say cost center. Okay. Your entire data will be grouped by cost center and returns the data. This percentage of employees are in this cost center and this percentage of employees are in this cost center. This kind of information you will be getting when you're grouping the employees by cost center. Okay, so that you should be able to get the data as a percentage that you will be configuring. There is nothing but a kind of grouping. And summarization. Summarization is nothing but where you define aggregations for each grouping. Whatever groupings that you will be performing in groupings area, and there is a option called summarizing, which actually allows you to define those aggregations for each of the column, populates and report. That's one thing that you'll be knowing. And drill down. Okay, drill down is nothing but which will give you option to drill into the summarization. Whatever you got in the first step, drill into the summarization for feature analysis, and it also used to report users who can view the data by other fields access and behind the summarizations. Okay, this is nothing but which whatever drilling that you will be giving, it actually allows you to actually drill down into the report output by getting selected certain options. Okay, so these are the three features, and without these three features you cannot have your matrix report created. You need to have these three options in order to have your matrix report completed with all the data requirements. And once you have your grouping, summarizing and drill down option, you actually go for configuring matrix report. Okay, when you are configuring a matrix report definition, you first must define the row groupings column and summarization data under matrix tab. So you first need to define this because because when you actually go to the matrix report, unlike your advanced report, you'll not see fields adding step by step in your business object. There are multiple options, columns, matrix, drill down. There are multiple options which you'll be using for creating this kind of reports. Okay. Now coming to actual configuration of matrix report. Okay, let me open and show you the options of matrix report. And then accordingly, we'll be creating one matrix report. Okay. So, before I actually share my screen, I wanted to share something on row groupings. Okay, because most of matrix report, what we have currently are, kind of matrix report, which actually in your data summarization, such kind of options you'll be selecting when you create a matrix report. So row grouping is one important thing, which actually groups multiple employees and returns the output based on the grouping criteria that you have selected. Okay, and for each of report matrix that you create, minimum at least one row grouping that you need to specify, and maximum you can specify 8 row groupings. You cannot leave blank, and you cannot exceed more than 8. That's a kind of row grouping concept that you need to note, which will help you when you're managing. Okay. Now let me go ahead and create one visualization report on matrix, which gives headcount report based on the department. When I say department, it is nothing but a cost center. Okay. By cost center, data will be returned considering the legacy, the kind of location that will be sending, and the headcount that employee will be having. We'll be considering all this and get you a kind of analytic data visualization report, which returns data in the form of chart and other formats. Probably we'll create a report and then we'll make the chart selection. Now the same step, whatever you have gone through custom report advanced, you'll be actually going with the same step. Create custom report, matrix. Matrix would be your report type. Here, RPT. This is data visualization, right? RPT data. So what is my requirement? I need to actually populate the headcount of the employees based on their hire date till as of date, and all those terminated employees will be grouped by location, address, country, where you'll be having all the employees grouped in this category. Now I'll select the data source. When you select your data source and move further, you'll be getting into the report definition page of matrix report, where you need to specify your row groupings and your column groupings. Column grouping is an optional one, but here you need to define the summarization of the fields. When I say summarization field, let's say I have around, what is the count that we have for this thing? Let's say if I wanted to report, okay, if I wanted to report employee data by cost center and by country, okay, and in the data, whatever system is returning, I wanted to have the data divided for employees as well as contingent workers. Okay. Now we will be creating matrix report. The maximum number of row groupings, I said, what we can use is 8. Okay. But I can't, take 8 groupings because the dashboard also needs to be configured in that way. I'll take location as address, country. I'm taking location, address, country as a kind of row grouping. Column grouping is an optional, so I don't want to take column grouping, but I wanted to summarize the data. I wanted to summarize the data. And the summarization food will be, we wanted to have the value populated based on the selection that you will be giving, and summarization type would be the seven summarization field would be your employee, worker, have a count of both employee as well as contingent worker. Worker. Count will give you the actual count of the value when you go for any kind of summary. So now when you have your summarization configured, you also need to have your summarized data actually. Okay. Worker. I'm giving basic information here. Now you have an option to actually select your option when you're creating any kind of headcount report for all the summarizations. You need to have a kind of detailed data override, which you need to create for for employee as well as contingent worker, which is nothing but detailed employee override, which is nothing but which actually populates all the details of the information. This we don't have. APT or data override, which actually gives you actual employee details. When you're running a report, you can give all the critical information, detailed override. So one will work for both. Okay. paid employee address, whatever the basic things that you wanted to have, you can give here. Cost center, supervisory organization. Cost center, the next thing is super. Okay. That same detailed data. One copy. Because detailed data is mandatory, system will actually kick you out. When you're not giving any kind of data. Right. Center and cost supervisor organization for this data, detailed data section. Cost center. This we should be good with supervisory organization. We have given detailed data with some basic information, which actually needs to be mandatory when you're creating detailed data for any kind of headcounts. Now we have, we need to actually give filter the data now. Okay, whatever fields that you wanted to have, which needs to be allowed to drill down from the output file, you'll be adding those fields here. When you run a report, your report will be giving some output, right? In that report, if you wanted to add any kind of drillable fields, you can add here generally. Whatever fields that you wanted to drill down, then only you need to give, but you don't need. Date. Even this, I'll go with minimum fields. Instead of actually going with multiple fields. Now I have drillable details that I wanted to populate in case when you create a matrix report, and you don't want any of the business user to actually access the personal information after they create a matrix report from the output of the matrix report. If you don't want anyone to access the personal information that it matrix report consists of, you have two options here. So drill options. Whenever you have some confidential information like personal information, employees, gender, any kind of employee and employee name at a time, should not be populated in the name. Okay, which is a kind of confidential information. So what we'll do generally is, in order to bypass such kind of access, not to view any kind of confidential information by drilling on into the report, we'll be actually disabling those options here. Okay, we'll disable populating, giving access to drill down into the report. We'll be actually, based on the control we have here, we'll be, controlling those drilling options here. Okay. You should have saved it. completing the report, it has got a question lost. I'll find any of the matrix report there's that probably I'll try to tweak that according to the data that we need to have. Because any questions so far on matrix report? I know I was actually giving you data and trying to show you the options how to actually view the data in a matrix graphical format. But any questions so far in actually drilling down options? Any other questions you have while I find any of the existing matrix report and get the report populated for you? Any questions?
Team, any questions on matrix reports? Any clarification you need?
You have any regular audit reports that goes with matrix where any kind of compensation audit report, any kind of personal information audit report that leadership team will be viewing, where you'll be controlling all those options? You have any such kind of reports are there? I have some matrix report which is similar to the source that I wanted to have. I'll modify this report according to the need I wanted to have. I'll just remove all this. As I said, maximum we can have 8 row groupings actually, and minimum is 1. Okay, so I don't want this many groupings because I don't want to mess the data. People would have created as per practice, but generally we'll be having 1 or 2 row groupings. That's it. Okay. I wanted to have data to be populated based on unpaid. Okay. Also, this would be if you're actually going for any kind of reporting certification, or if you're going for any kind of reporting test outs with Workday. These are all the options the Workday will be asking you. What is the max row groupings that you can add in matrix report? What is the minimum you have? Or it might make you a kind of confusion. Can we have a matrix report? Can we create a matrix report without any kind of row grouping? Which is not possible, right? You cannot do that. So such kind of certification questions when you go with Workday, these are all the questions you'll be having. Or when you are actually applying for any report writer exemption request with Workday, a kind of test out, Workday will be giving you. Those test out question also will be including all these options, which are simple, but tend to actually go with assumptions. So now I think we should have got some clarity. Any questions? Anything specific to the options? I know I didn't run the matrix report. I'll be running now. But before I run, any questions on the options that we're choosing?
Amit, I have a question,
Yep.
Lalita here. So I can see options on row grouping, column grouping, and then summarization type. What is the difference between all three options?
So row grouping, okay. So nothing but how data you populate. If you wanted to have your grouping to be happening on column, you can do that. Okay. If you wanted to have
the options column that we have on
here.
No.
These options.
On the these options. I'm asking.
Let me.
I can see it everywhere. Yeah.
Let me go there after configuring this. Now I wanted to have count of contingent workers, count of employees. System. Count these options, right? Like how you create an advanced report. You remember when you're creating an advanced report, and when you have any currency field or numeric fields, if you go to the top right side of your advanced report, you'll be having some options, right? If you wanted to show that currency amount as a kind of percentage, or if you wanted to populate any kind of dollar symbol on that one, or any kind of if you wanted to give finalized total amount on that column that you'll be adding, same options you have here. Okay, but to max, when you're actually doing any kind of the any kind of analytic or kind of visualization, what you can do is if you have too many kind of numeric or any kind of average kind of reports that you're making for business, what is the kind of total compensation that is actually paying for this employee, such kind of information is there, we'll be actually going with this kind of options. But now what we are doing is we are actually trying to get the count of contractors and employees, where we don't need these kind of options. We don't need symbol, we don't need any kind of total of because we are not using any kind of numeric or currency values. We're just going with count, since we have selected count, so we'll be selecting the count. We don't need any kind of percentage, because count will give us a clarity on the output. Okay, so based on your data that you're giving, actually these options can be selected. But currency symbol and all this percentage of columns and all, you can do at reporting level only. Okay, if you remember advanced report options, you have same kind of options. Based on the data that you choose in advanced report, you'll be getting those options enabled. Okay, now I don't want all this information, because this is nothing related to the count that I'm looking for. Okay, did I answer your question?
Yes. Yes, Amit. And I was asking,
Yep.
yes, what does the option mean on the row section? If you can go up there.
Let me go up.
Yes, we see options here as well.
Yes,
So
you
these
should be
are for
getting the same
visualization?
kind of options. Okay, so if you are selecting any kind of numeric fields, you'll be getting make it as a kind of percentage. If you're selecting any kind of dollar amount, any kind of currency amount, you wanted to have a dollar symbol that needs to be populated here, the same kind of options you'll be getting. But now I'm actually using any kind of text fields here. Okay, so I don't want any kind of options to be chosen here. That's the reason why you are not getting anything.
Okay.
But in case if I am actually selecting you don't actually group through any kind of amount based groupings, you'll not be doing. But that doesn't make sense. But let's see if that option will be actually coming up. I take this. Okay, this is not this is calculated, not a daily work field. It's not calculated. These are not the valid field that you need to take here, but I'm just trying to see some options will be coming based on the value that you're showing. Okay, I think this tenant is not properly have all the live information and all. Generally, based on the data that you choose here, you will be getting options here. Same, when you see advanced report, the moment you select the currency related fields, options will be changing here in the extreme right side of your advanced report. Same kind of options, you'll be seeing even in matrix report. I think there is something, in the back end, tenant level settings would have corrupted. That's the reason why you're not getting options. But generally, if you take any amount here, okay, it will ask same option, whatever you're seeing here, percentage based option, or if you wanted to populate any kind of dollar amount to that one, you'll be getting this one. Okay, nothing,
Okay.
you'll be actually mixing up with any of the values here. but generally the purpose is to have any kind of a total values or percentage or currency, such kind of things. So you can add it here.
And it
Similarly,
will be same as the summarization section. I can choose from anywhere, right?
yeah, you can choose for here. You can actually have all the options. You can also basically, you'll go for detailed data whenever you are actually giving. You'll be giving what data that you wanted to have in the summarization type. You'll be giving your detailed data section. There you can add any kind of data or not. Okay. If you're actually looking for any kind of average, any kind of any kind of percentage based reports, you'll be actually going with these options. With these options you'll be going, but here if you see here, our requirement is to get the count. Okay, to get the count, if still the same requirement, if you wanted to have to be populated as a percentage, okay, employee percentage or contingent worker percentage, you'll be actually selecting a percent in columns or percent in overall total. You'll be selecting and you'll be creating this report. Okay, but now our version is to actually uh, have a count of the report actually. Okay, so we'll be getting with the detailed data section. Once we have the count populated, whatever detailed data section that we'll be giving, it's actually kind of mandatory. If you will not give, system will actually kick you out with an error. Okay, so detailed data section would be a kind of option that we need to create for any kind of headcount reports that you are preparing. Let me give you, I know, some very short information here. Center. And this would work. The employee will be sitting into. Matrix reports, the specialty of matrix report is it can actually return data both in a tabular as well as a graphical format. Okay, so if your business wanted to have any kind of data visualization with any kind of graphical format, you can actually configure that. And if your business wanted to have both graphical as well as tabular, you can actually get both options as well. So in summarization, you can go with any of the count or percentage or any kind of aggregation that you wanted to have, average, anything that you wanted to go. Anything you can choose that you can actually go, but it must be based on your stakeholder needs. Whatever they wanted to have, you can actually populate it accordingly.
Amit, is it possible if you can run the report just with a limited set of fields rather than getting a lot of field? Just want to.
I'm taking minimum fields only. I'm not taking too many fields. Just 3 or 4 fields I'm taking, because the report has got refreshed, right? So all the content has gone. I have all the data. You can have filter that you wanted to have. You can do filter however you wanted to have. Same kind of prompt options. You can do prompting. If you wanted to run your report based on any kind of date parameters or based on location, country, you can configure that. And if you wanted to filter for any kind of location or specific as per criteria, you can do this one. Okay. Now I'll just run this without any kind of chart option. We'll see how it populates. Then I'll configure any chart criteria that we need to have. Okay, so this report, so I've taken this report as existing report. This report is not shared with the Logon. That's the reason why you've not seen options to run this report. That's where you need to actually make sure whenever you create any kind of critical report, your team and that team must be aware of the report, so that they should be able to manage. If you do not share, they will be not able to identify and they cannot run this. Okay, so now I got employee count based on location and based on cost center. Okay, from US we have 66 employees, and where is this is the employee, 66 employee, and contingent we don't have 0. We have 0. And similarly, if you take UK, you have both contingent as well as employee. Like that, you have for each country where we have group based on country and based on cost center, right? There's a reason why you got this thing. And now same option, if you actually choose, instead of row grouping and instead of row grouping, if you actually choose location or cost center as a kind of column grouping, okay, your data will not be populated like this. Okay, since these are actually populated as rows, right? Now your all the location and country will be populated as columns, and your whatever you have here, employee count and contingent count, will be populated as rows. That's the only difference when you actually choose data for your column groupings versus row grouping. Okay. Now let me actually make some tweak here to populate the data in a graphical format. Okay, so that we'll see how it actually returns this.
Amit, I have a question before we
yeah.
go to graph. I wanted to understand, we have overridden the detailed data, and how does that had impacted on the front end?
We go to drill down.
Here we get those options to get the detailed data.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is a reason why I was telling, when you actually run a matrix report. Okay. Matrix report is the only report that gives you option to drill down. Entire data, whatever you've added, you can go to the output and drill down into each of the field that you wanted to have. Okay.
And if we don't override the detailed data, we'll get only the count. We have that
only
option, right?
Only the count.
Okay.
You will not get anything.
Okay.
Okay.
So we can add those fields in the detailed data override concept, right?
You can add. We can
add the fields. Yeah.
You can add at the same time. If there is any kind of confidential information that you have added there, okay, and you wanted to control, kind of drilling down into the field level information, probably I was showing, right, disable drill down options and all I was showing, right? Those options, you'll be actually selecting, so that even when you have data here, you'll not have drill down option here.
Okay.
This option will get
disabled. And I hope we don't have any field limitations over here. We can add n number of fields, right?
You can add any number of fields.
Okay, got it.
Let me go to the output and share, configure the chart format. Same report probably will try to do tomorrow also, to actually configure in dashboard and see how we can run this report in dashboard. Since now we have a table, we are not seeing any chart. I can configure chart and table. You can also configure only chart if you wanted to have. And we have multiple chart types. Column clustered. If you wanted to have to be populated in a bar format, in a chart bar, you can get it. And in a pie chart format, you have a donut. Okay. And all other options, you have something, in a bubbled format, you can choose this one. And simple, without any kind of, graphical, if you wanted to have a simple line format, you can do this. But mostly column clustered, people will be using. We'll see, we'll take, 2 or 3 options and how output varies, we'll see. And accordingly, we'll see how, which is actually giving a kind of better as part of data visualization. Okay, now in the graphical format, you see here, if you select years, you'll be having the count of years, and if you select any specific country here, you can go to each of the country and identify what is the count you have there. Okay, and similarly, you can actually make this kind of row grouping and column grouping concept applicable for any kind of requirements that you get. Let's say if recruiting team asks you, hey, I wanted to have all the employees who have got hired from different recruiting agencies like LinkedIn, like website, like the Glassdoor kind of portals will be there, right? So I wanted to have all the employees who have got hired from different LinkedIn sources, kind of information the recruiting team will be asking you. The same kind of configuration you'll be doing. What you would be grouping there? You would be grouping agency, recruiting agency. You'll be grouping with recruiting agency. Similarly, where you're getting like countries here, right? You'll be getting a recruiting agency, and whatever count you're getting, right, you'll be getting same count from each recruiting agency. And let's say if tomorrow, if you have the same kind of requirement and your business is asking, I wanted to know, members of each organization. Okay, get me a count of from each of the supervisor organization we have based on the location. Okay, so if there is a kind of requirement that you will have, what you'll do, you'll be grouping through supervisor organization and location, right? And this kind of the reports, you cannot actually integrate with any integrations. That's the reason why you don't have an option to make this matrix report as a web service enabled report. And the same format that you're seeing on the screen, if you download, you will not see the same format. your chart will go off and your tabular data will be extracted. So you cannot download, you cannot actually integrate the chart information from one system to another system, or cannot extract your chart information into any file format. Any questions so far? If you are aware of getting this kind of logics, there is a kind of concept. If you are actually getting into core reporting team, core reporting and analytics team, this kind of knowledge will help you to manage scorecards. Okay, there is a concept called scorecards, same kind of concept, but you'll be creating multiple matrix report and attaching to a different report, which is called a kind of metrics, we call it as. And that will actually help you in giving more advanced analytics kind of the future or kind of experience for your business. That kind of experience you should be able to give when you actually deal with a lot of matrix report and get to a stage that combining multiple reports and make a kind of scorecards and configure that scorecard in a dashboard, give a kind of population of all the data, what percentage that you're getting here, the same percentage will be getting in a multiple dashboard. In a single dashboard for multiple outputs, you'll be seeing, which would be a kind of enriched data visualization kind of part as part of analytics, which will be giving a kind of end user experience with a quality. That's a kind of matrix report, which is a kind of for giving a kind of data visualization. We actually go with this kind of approach. This can be done with head counts. This can be done with any kind of feature attritions that you wanted to know what would be the percentage if 10 employees have put on papers. Okay, put on papers and they are getting terminated sometime in the month of September, and if some employees would have kept paper sometime last week and they are getting terminated sometime in the month of end of August. So if you wanted to know all the attrition ratio, future attrition ratio that you wanted to know, you can create similar kind of reports. And current terminations count that you wanted to have, you can know. Now we only took the count of employees, but we are not specifying anywhere whether the employee is terminated or whether employee is active. Okay, if I filter, I'll be able to filter with active and terminated employee data, but here nowhere we have specified employee should be active or terminated. But if you specifically have a requirement that your reporting should give all the termination count or percentage of the termination count versus active employee count, you can go with the same approach. Basically, these are all the options you'll be having as part of data visualization requirements from your business. Okay, and men employee count, female employee count, all these things you'll be managing in a kind of matrix format and configure that matrix to your dashboard. Clear on this? Any questions? Clear on the kind of requirements that we'll be getting in as part of matrix report creation? Any requirements that you have other than what we've discussed? I was telling you like head count, termination count, future terminations count, the kind of scorecard count of information and all I was telling you, right? Anything other than which you see which was not covered that you wanted to cover here?
Amit, we do get requirements for future attrition data and future terminations data. Can we show the trend through matrix report, like a trend
you
of
wanted to show the
say
trend? Why to go with matrix? You can go with trended, right?
We have to create a trended report for that.
Trended report. Future termination is nothing but a kind of you wanted to actually, you can go with matrix also, but if you wanted to know the trend of terminations, attritions and all, I think trended would be a kind of best option.
Okay. Thank you.
You wanted to have you wanted me to create a trended report with future terminations, or you want me to go with the audit report for analytics, for covering analytics. So termination event you are saying, right? Yes, we need to call from termination only.
Yes.
Since we will be creating our report in in different business object, we'll try to get the termination event data into worker business object. In order to get data from, which is actually kind of multi-instance thing, to worker related business object, we basically go with function called extract single instance, which is mostly used function in calculated field for all typical and complex reporting. In order to look up the data into primary from related business object, you will be actually using extract single instance. The termination events are completed.
Amit, so we are trying to extract the future term date here, right?
Yes.
So which means that if the employee has put down his papers, if he's serving the notice period, then the last date of his notice period, right?
Yes, all the future terminations. If termination event has triggered, and if in the termination event last working day has got mentioned, this calculated field will be recognized there.
Okay. So when we create this field and when we run it for worker, we will get yes or no's in the worker data set, which will be telling us that whether that employee will be terminated in future or not. Correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Any guess what function that we'll be using now? Review single
Look up
instance.
related value.
What is that?
Look up related value.
LRV.
Okay, now let's create report. Here I can go with the index.
So what is this data source that we're using here, Amit? The same, that worker that we are using.
There are multiple. I'm actually going with indexed one. We have multiple data sources, workers from HCM reporting, workers by organization. We have why.
So this is the second calc field that I created.
No, this is a report I'm creating, not a calculated field.
Okay. You're pulling that calculated field into a report.
Yeah, we'll be creating a report and we'll be adding this calculated field, whatever we have created, into this report.
Okay.
I was just needing, I don't know whether the calculated field is there in this tenant or not. That's the reason why I've created that one.
Okay.
This worker is a primary business returns one to go and active workers who are associated with organization. Yeah, this will give inbuilt prompts for managers to actually access all the data. I've selected advanced, but in case if you wanted to have with a different graphical format, you can just choose matrix. Since we are going with workers by organization date, it actually drill downs into supervisor organization and checks all the employee status.
Amit, we wanted to have a look for matrix report for future terminations. Is there a way where we will be able to convert this advanced report into matrix report? Is there any conversion point? Because we wanted to look at the trend or the counts which will be coming in the future.
You just change, you can add in the output, if you wanted to, just change the output format. But matrix will be having different option. But yeah, let me actually go with the matrix only, which are advanced. If you wanted to trend, if you wanted to go for trend information and all, probably there is a data source called trended workers. Okay, it will be giving all the trend information. Basically, all trend information and all can be actually managed in trended data source actually. One second. if you're looking for trended information, probably a trended source will actually give appropriate information. That is, very simple report that won't take any much time. I'll also try to show that as well. You just need to know for which period that you wanted to actually have the trended, termination list of information and all. I just added this column. We'll see if data exists or not. Just hold on with this. Go for running the report. What is the top level organization? Sure. Select top level organization. Let's see if this case. This actually does not have any. Let me take in a future date. So we don't have any employee terminated. What we'll do is we'll terminate anyone here. Switch it over and see if it works. So one employee. So all these are based on your HR requirement. You'll be actually creating all these options. Given the termination date. Let's see if we employee and see. So the termination BP is configured with some approvals. A lot of approvals are configured. Now this employee has got terminated. We'll see. We see this employee has got terminated. Effective 1st of September. Initial. So, conclusion, whether suppose their organizations are actually configured. Or I can take this employees managers, suppose their organization for the payment. This organization. Let's see here. John Minnan. If you see here, this employee we have got terminated. He is actually returning, since we have given a percentage, it has returned a percentage. If we give count, it will give count. Okay. For at report level also, if you give count, we'll be getting the count. Since we have given at a total percentage, we have given at a summarization. That is the reason why you got this one. If you would have given any kind of detailed data, you would have got all the detailed information with the termination event actually. Since we have terminated this employee with future date, when we ran this, and we were able to get actual data, but this is not how we need to approach for future terminations. Okay, since the source we have taken, though this gives the data, but if you wanted to do the trending, okay, if you wanted to perform any kind of trending on features, this is not the right source that you need to choose. Okay, you need to choose, there is a specific data source called trended workers, okay, which actually gives you the trend of the terminations, any kind of male or female headcount and all, how many employees are joining, how many employees are going, such kind of trend. If you wanted to observe, there is a source called trended source. Let me create that report as well, which will not take much time. You are clear with this? Any questions here?
Yes, Amit.
Yep.
Got it. So, Amit, you're saying we can use the data so trended worker, but report type, we can have matrix or report type also we have to take advance when we use the trended worker data sources. We'll be changing the type, right?
When you're actually using trended data source, trended report type will work appropriately. So you can use matrix also. Matrix and trended report types are similar. No, it will
Okay.
actually give all the, whatever features that Matrix has, drill down options and all. Even trended report type also will be having the same kind of options. But when you're actually looking for any kind of trends information, all right, the options that trended report type has a kind of, more enriched format other than Matrix. Both will have the same kind of, but basically whenever you use a trended data source, trended report type has to be used.
Okay. Got it.
Trended reporting
Thank you.
type. Can we go ahead and create that? Which is actually gives you attrition information, attrition trend actually. If you wanted to do
Okay.
by quarter, in this quarter, how many has got, what is the trend of termination? In this quarter, how many, but based on quarter, you can actually do, you can configure in
So,
trended report.
Sure, Amit. Saurabh Dubey, we would like to see the trend for attrition, or we should take some kind of requisitions trend which we are having.
Let's do requisitions, I think. Can we have that in this tenant, Amit?
I don't know
what we want to see is
requisitions. I don't know about the requisitions,
so we want,
but we need to create requisitions. Okay, we need to create some requisitions, but that's this. We have one future data terminations. We can actually take that example and look for a kind of termination if you are looking for attritions. Attrition trend in a trending report. But we can also do with requisitions. But we need to see if based on the output, if nothing is returning, we need to actually create some requisitions.
Sure.
What do you want? You want to go with the terminations?
I'm fine with terminations also.
I think both would be the same. What ultimately you need to have the data. That's it. If you are looking for requisitions or terminations or any new hires, rehires, all the thing is you need to have the data. Okay, since we know what field that we need to use for each of this category, right? You need to know the field type and the data that you need. If you don't have the data, if you're using any sandbox or any implementation tenant, try to get requisition created or hire an employees or rehire employee, terminate and rehire an employee, or perform any kind of terminations to handle any kind of trended information. Let me go ahead and start creating a trended report, which is actually a kind of important one, basically for leadership team when you wanted to actually give trended information on all the categories. I don't know, I haven't seen on requisitions, but I've seen mostly on terminations, mostly on new hires, mostly on rehires. Such kind of trended information I've seen. I didn't get any requests on requisitions, but you can try, having any kind of requisitions, how many requisition flows are going, how many are getting filled, how many are getting cancelled, frozen, how many are getting freezed, and all this kind of information you should be able to know when you're actually configuring requisition information in the same summarization. But there is a configuration of trended report is a little different than matrix, than advanced, which I want you to know that. Let me go ahead and create.
So, Amit, typically we have requirements from business. Definitely, when it comes to requisitions, on the hiring events, on the recruitment events, of course, open and filled requisition is one of the attributes. But on recruitment events, how the recruitment events are processing. So those kind of requirements we usually get, and I wanted to see how that business process, when we work on those business process event in trended worker or in matrix, I wanted to understand those configurations.
Okay.
Yeah, but we can for now we can see future terms.
Let me see. Let me run one standard report on job requisitions and see.
Okay.
If there is anything that we can find, or else I'll do some kind of transactions and get some data. 27. I wanted to see if there is anything currently open with any future effective date or anything that recently has got bunch of requisition that has got closed on the receive, so that based on that I can actually see. I see something on mostly I see something historical information. Let me do some transactions and get some test data for us in order to see the trend of open versus closed versus frozen versus that are actually closed. Let me do some transactions and take around 5 to 6 examples to actually make that the transaction to be returned in the output that we'll be creating. Let me do that, and probably I can take this as an action item for tomorrow and get whatever you're asking business process transaction related, right? We'll make some kind of categorized between closed, filled, open, and see how those are populating when we create trend, see how it actually returns. Okay, let me do some
Sure, Amit.
transactions, few requisition transactions, and that requires this the tenant is actually configured with a lot of approvals. If I go ahead and start creating requisitions, it will take to some approvals, and to do some approvals it might take a little time, but let me take this as an action item and get all the transactions with requisitions, and I know the trended that you wanted to look. Probably we can do that as a kind of first thing when we start tomorrow. Okay,
Sure, Amit.
but the format, whatever we'll be doing will be the same. And even
Yep.
the one that I'm going to show now is actually also
Mhm.
mostly, I don't know whether you're currently using that report or not, but this is also a kind of mostly used and a required report, which if in case if you're not using, in case if you don't have this format, just record this format and do this kind of report for you and for any kind of HR stakeholders, which would be helpful for you. So I'll be using trending as a kind of report type and trended data source called trended workers, which will be giving all the trend information of future terminations or new hires, anything. I'll take any of this data quickly. I'm using trended type. So this is actually preferred data source and report type if you wanted to view any trended information. Okay. I wanted to actually view the trended information of terminations by quarter. Okay. So we have a delivered field called year quarter. It actually gives all the terminations in this date range. What is this error? Select only one time field for routing of trending. Select only one date. Even some here. Summarization field, date, termination, count. Here generally there is specific. So here generally, what you can do is you need to have 12 months generally for 1 year calculation. Let me see if the delivered field is there or not. What I can do is, in order to get this, since this is an important thing which you wanted to know, and what I'll do is I'll go ahead and create one field under trended source. account, so that you will be getting a complete year based on this selection. Since there is tenant report, no one has created in this tenant. Fields are blank actually. Lot of data is not but yes, we'll go with- and take constant as to which actually returns any kind of this turnover or whatever I'm calculating here. I just taking a constant value as to, so that if anything is blank, it will be actually returning the constant value. And take operations, mathematical operations, perform some kind of calculation. Have all the data. The thing is, you need to add some data, whatever you wanted actually. Basically, the fields here, what we'll add is general information. Okay, employee, if employee is getting terminated, what would be the basic demographic information? And I can add, I'll just add 2 or 3 fields. The important one for you is to actually calculate summarization. That is the only important thing. Rest of the things we can actually. All this information, whatever I'm trying to find out here, those must be available in trended source actually. So you'll not be getting anything from worker object. You'll be getting from trended worker business object. Okay, worker is different and trended worker is different. Okay, see here, this would be business object called trended workers. So all the trended information, if you wanted to pull, will be in trended business object, trended workers business object. Okay, so when you're actually creating your report in trended type, you should be able to take all the fields that are sitting in this business object. If you take worker, anything other, your results will not be appropriate. I don't think those will be populated at least. All the fields that you will be getting here are from trended only. So you can replicate the same scenario for any other report, any other requirements. Even the recruiting also will be coming in the same scenario. Some calculated fields needs to be created if anything is not there. If you wanted to know the specific type of termination reason, whether it is voluntary, involuntary, anything that you wanted to know. If few things are not available, probably you need to take some calc field. Reason why I'm taking year matrix, since we have configured in our report with the grouping year, month, and year, quarter. I just wanted to see, compare the data accordingly. So this. Now, if I run the report, not selected any specific format, but if I run the report, we'll be able to see the output in a yearly quarter format. Take it from 1st of 2021 to I've taken for entire month. Let's see. This is reversed actually. Some of terminations. Tomorrow we got. Okay. You can see here for last year, first quarter. Sorry. For last year, first quarter, we are seeing 4 terminations. Since this is a test tenant, data prospect, don't think accurately, but look up the trends that we have. For last year, Q1 we see 4 terminations. For Q2 we have, and for Q3, Q4 we don't have, and total we got around 4 terminations. Where our turnover rate is, we've calculated as a kind of constant rate. We got this. So such kind of such kind of trend information you can do. Not sure whether if I run with future date we'll be getting or not, but you can do in actual tenant, in your live tenant. You should be able to manage this with the same kind of format. What you're able to, we're able to see the trend, right? For each quarter, you should be able to manage that with futures also. Let me try to run with 1st January to 31st December. So we should be seeing something. The first quarter we have, and for second quarter we have, but rest of the things we don't have. Okay. So before you actually get anything, if you wanted to get any trended information into trended data source, there is a task that you need to perform. Okay. If you don't perform the task and looking for any information from trended report, you'll not be able to get that information. Okay. There is a task called maintain trended. These are the 2 tasks that you need to actually perform in order to. This is a job actually. Okay. You need to actually refresh this job as on when you wanted to have your data refreshed, and it will take around 1 hour, I think, to actually refresh and get all the data into trended business object. Then you should be able to see accurate data. Okay. This is one of the jobs that you need to maintain in order to have your data accuracy for trended workers to actually view all the trended information.
Amit, report writers can refresh this task?
This is a report only, but in report writer, the type of report is different actually. So when report type is different for trended workers, not for all the reports, you have this job that can actually run and get the data, but for only trended, the business object is similar, separate, right, for this one. So if you're looking for any kind of trend information, all that data has to sit in a worker business object. So when you actually refresh this one, data will be routing to trended worker business object, and it will be actually sitting. Once you actually create, but if someone is not using trended workers, if this task itself is not there, you need to actually enable this task and start using your trended workers related activities with this. Most of the people, what they'll be doing is they'll be going with the worker by business or worker by organization, and choose matrix report and give a date range and view the data, and think that data is a kind of trends. This is a kind of termination count that we have in this month. This is a kind of termination count we had in this month. Kind of the results they'll be evaluating, but to certain case those will be not accurate, because those are coming from worker business object, right? Not coming from trended business object. So if you wanted to have the actual trend information, actual trends that you wanted to know, your trending report type and trending worker business object would be a kind of accurate one that gives accurate data. And in
so
order
Amit,
to
so do we need to create these configurations? before we use that business object?
You'll have access to this one.
We'll have. Okay.
You'll have access to this one. This comes with the report writer only. Okay.
Okay.
You'll have access to this one. And if there is any kind of segment based or intersection security group that your security team would have created, that to bypass all the configuration access, that is a different case. But generally, you'll have this access.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
So you need to run this job in order to get all the. So you should be seeing all the configurations that is there in trended workers from when you wanted to have trended information from. This is actually configured from 2013. Okay, you can do all this configuration if it is not there in your tenant. If you're actually looking for any kind of, let's say if you've gone live with Workday sometime in 2015, okay, make that date as a kind of trended start date and. The kind of appropriate one that you need to select. But if you wanted to do yearly, quarterly, you can go yearly, half yearly, you can select anything that you wanted to select. Okay. And before you try in actual production, I think your tenant would have got this configuration. And because most of the trended reports are actually used by leadership team, I believe trended reports would have got created in your tenant. But just take a look if trended is not enabled. Just enable that one and start using this feature, and whatever report that I've created will be actually helpful for you in managing trend information for quarter. I've taken as a quarter, yearly quarter I've taken, but if you wanted to go yearly once, yearly, half yearly, or yearly month also you can go. If you wanted to view monthly kind of transactions, you can go with monthly view also. Make sense? Any questions?
So for all the trended reports, we'll be having that one task to perform before we, run the report, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Maintain a trended workers is a kind of
trended
thing.
Workers.
Yes. If you're not able to, find that one, just do view security for securable item. This everyone will be having this access. Okay. This cannot be restricted. Use sec for sec item. And know what security that it would be needing, and if your security is restricting that one, ask them to grant that access. This comes with system functional area. Then go to security. Generally, your organization related security group has to be under permanent. Let's say if report writer or any kind of workforce analytics is said, right? A kind of common security group for your team. That security group has to be here.
Okay.
If it is not there, just ask your security to get access to this task so that you should be able to run whenever you wanted to have. Basically, once you run that, it automatically refreshes all the time. Okay, until you get the task created, that is actually the matter. But once you have the task created, you should be able to manage that one. Okay.